The Cuban government is talking with us, and they're in a big deal of trouble, as you know. They have no money, they have no anything right now, but they're talking with us, and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba.
What if the most important shift in the Caribbean right now is not happening in Guyana's oil fields, not in Jamaica's parliament, not even in Havana's streets, but inside quiet diplomatic talks in Washington? When President Donald Trump recently raised the idea of a friendly takeover of Cuba, many people laughed. Some dismissed it as political talk. Others called it exaggeration. But serious strategists did not laugh. Because in global politics, words like that are rarely random. The question is not whether the United States will literally invade Cuba. The real question is this: is Washington repositioning itself to fully reshape the Caribbean balance of power? And if Cuba becomes unstable or economically dependent, could countries like Jamaica and Guyana eventually face deeper strategic pressure as well? Today we are not dealing with rumors. We are looking at power, energy, geography, security, and the long history of the Caribbean as a strategic backyard for the United States. Let's slow this down and look carefully at what is happening. Cuba has been under US trade embargo since 1962. For decades, it survived with Soviet support. After the Soviet Union collapsed, it survived again through support from Venezuela, especially under President Nicolas Maduro. Venezuelan oil kept Cuba's power plants running. It kept transportation moving. It kept the system stable. But once Venezuela weakened, Cuba weakened too. Now, if Venezuela can no longer send oil at previous levels, and if Washington tightens pressure on any country supplying oil to Cuba, Havana faces severe economic strain. Fuel shortages, blackouts, food supply issues, migration pressure, political stress. From a strategic point of view, this matters because Cuba is not just another island. It sits 90 miles from Florida. It controls key maritime routes in the northern Caribbean. During the Cold War, it was the center of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was the point where the Soviet Union projected power into the Western Hemisphere. Today, Russia and China both maintain relationships in the Caribbean. China invests in ports, roads, telecom networks, and energy infrastructure across the region. Russia maintains diplomatic and limited military cooperation and ties. For Washington, this is not theoretical. It is about proximity. It is about influence near its coastline.
Cuba that live here. You know, we have people living here that want to go back to Cuba, and they're very happy with what's going on. It's doing very badly. They're failing. Cuba right now is, to put it mildly, a failing nation. And I've been hearing about Cuba. I said before, since I'm a little boy, I've been hearing about Cuba, and everybody wanted to change. And I can see that happening. Marco Rubio is dealing on it, and at a very high level. And, you know, they have no money, they have no oil, they have no food. And it's really right now a nation in deep trouble, and they want our help.
So when Trump mentions a friendly takeover, analysts hear something different. They hear economic leverage. They hear strategic realignment. They hear the possibility of turning a longtime adversary into a dependent partner. But what would that actually mean? A friendly takeover does not require tanks. It can mean financial rescue tied to reforms. It can mean infrastructure investment tied to policy shifts. It can mean gradual integration into US-led economic systems. It can mean quiet political influence. Now here is where Jamaica and Guyana enter the picture. Start with Guyana. Guyana is now one of the fastest-growing oil producers in the world. Major offshore discoveries have transformed its economy. US energy companies are deeply invested. Washington sees Guyana as a stable, democratic energy partner near Venezuela. If Cuba weakens and becomes unstable, the US will need reliable energy and security partners in the Caribbean basin. Guyana's importance increases automatically. Guyana sits on the northern edge of South America, near Venezuela. It has unresolved border tensions with Caracas. That alone makes it strategically sensitive. If Washington strengthens its security presence in the region to counter instability in Cuba or Venezuela, Guyana becomes part of that security architecture. Now consider Jamaica. Jamaica is not an oil giant like Guyana, but it is diplomatically important. It is one of the largest English-speaking Caribbean nations. It plays a strong role in CARICOM. Its ports, airspace, and political voice matter in regional consensus. If Washington increases pressure on Cuba, CARICOM will face internal strain. Some members may support engagement. Others may prefer neutrality. Jamaica could find itself balancing between regional solidarity and strategic alignment with the United States. This is where strategy becomes delicate. The United States does not need to take over the Caribbean in a traditional sense. Influence can expand through security agreements, development funding, energy partnerships, and financial leverage. Now let's widen the lens. China's presence in the Caribbean has grown over the last decade. Infrastructure loans, construction projects, telecommunications networks, port development. These investments are often presented as economic cooperation. But from Washington's perspective, every port project has potential strategic meaning.